3 weeks had passed since that snowy night, and Maya's life had changed in ways she never expected. David got the temporary construction job he had applied for, and he insisted on paying her rent money even though she kept telling him it wasn't necessary. "I'm not a charity case," he would say with a smile. "I pay my way." Maya had to admit that having David around had made everything easier. He would have coffee ready when she woke up for her early shifts, when she came home exhausted. After long days at the clinic, he would ask about her day and actually listen to her answers. He cooked dinner most nights, and they had fallen into a comfortable routine of eating together and talking about everything and nothing. But Maya's friends at work were starting to ask questions. "So this guy is still living with you?" asked Jessica, one of the other nurses, during their lunch break. "Don't you think that's a little weird?" "It's not weird," Maya said defensively. "He's a good person who needed help. But Maya, you don't really know him. What if he's taking advantage of you?" Maya wanted to explain that David wasn't taking advantage of anyone. He did more work around her apartment in a week than she had done in months. He fixed things, cleaned things, made her life better in small ways every single day. But she could see the concern in Jessica's eyes, and she started to wonder if maybe her friend was right to worry. That evening, Maya came home to find David cooking her favorite pasta dish. He had even bought flowers for the kitchen table with his first paycheck. "What's the occasion?" she asked, setting down her purse. "No occasion," David said. "I just wanted to do something nice for you." They sat down to eat, and Maya found herself really looking at David for the first time in days. Somewhere along the way, he had stopped being the desperate man she had found in the snow. His hair was clean and styled. His skin had a healthy color again. He looked confident and happy. He looked like the kind of man she might have met at a coffee shop or through friends under normal circumstances. "David," she said suddenly, "why are you still here?" He looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you have a job now. You could afford your own place. Why are you still living on my couch?" David set down his fork and was quiet for a long moment. "Do you want me to leave?" "That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking why you're staying." David looked uncomfortable. I guess I like it here. I like being around you." Maya felt her heart speed up. "What does that mean?" "It means that somewhere between that first night and now, I stopped thinking of this as a temporary situation. I started thinking of this as home." Maya stared at him. "David, I know this is complicated," he said quickly. "I know this isn't how these things usually happen. But Maya, I care about you. I care about you in a way that has nothing to do with gratitude or feeling like I owe you something." Maya felt her cheeks getting warm. "How do you know the difference?" "Because when I think about leaving here, it's not because I'm ready to be independent again. It's because I'm scared I'm falling for someone who might only see me as someone she helped." The words hung in the air between them. Maya looked at David's face and saw something she had been trying not to notice for days. The way he looked at her wasn't just grateful or friendly. There was something deeper there, something that made her stomach flutter. "I need to think," Maya said, standing up from the table. "Maya, wait, no, I need some air." Maya grabbed her coat and walked outside. The evening was cold but not bitter like that night when she first found David. Spring was trying to break through winter, and she could smell it in the air. She walked around her neighborhood, thinking about everything that had happened. When had David stopped being someone she was helping and started being someone she looked forward to seeing every day? When had she started listening for his key in the door? When had she started caring more about his opinion than anyone else's? Maya realized she had been avoiding these feelings because they scared her. How could she trust her own heart when the situation was so complicated? What if David only thought he cared about her because she had helped him? What if she only cared about him because he made her feel needed? When she got back to the apartment, David was cleaning up the dishes. He turned around when he heard her coming. "I'm sorry," he said. "I shouldn't have said all that. If you want me to find my own place, I understand." Maya looked at him standing in her kitchen, wearing her brother's old shirt, looking worried and hopeful at the same time. and suddenly she knew the answer to all her questions. David, she said, that night when I found you, do you know why I really stopped? He shook his head. Because you looked like I felt lost and cold and like nobody in the world cared what happened to you. I saw myself in you. David took a step closer to her. Maya, I've been alone for so long. She continued, taking care of everyone else, never letting anyone take care of me. But with you here, I don't feel alone anymore. And it's not because you fix things or cook dinner. It's because you see me, really see me. I do see you. David said softly, I see how hard you work, how much you care about people, how you try to carry everything by yourself. I see how beautiful you are, especially when you don't think anyone is looking. Maya felt tears in her eyes. What if this is all wrong? What if we're both just lonely and scared? David reached out and gently touched her face. Then we'll be lonely and scared together. And maybe that's better than being lonely and scared apart. Maya looked into his eyes and saw everything she had been afraid to hope for. Kindness, understanding, and yes, love. Real love that had nothing to do with rescue or gratitude and everything to do with two people who had found something precious in each other. When David kissed her, it felt like coming home after a long, cold journey. It felt like the warmth she had been searching for her whole life without even knowing it. Stay. She whispered against his lips. Don't find your own place. Stay here with me. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. David smiled and kissed her again. You know what's funny? What? I came here with nothing. No job, no money, no hope. And now I have everything I ever wanted. Maya laughed. What's that? A home, a job I like, and someone who loves me not for what I can give her, but for who I am. I do love you, Maya said, surprised by how easy it was to say the words. I love your kindness, your strength, the way you make me feel like I'm worth taking care of too. They held each other in the kitchen, surrounded by the smell of the dinner David had made and the warmth they had built together. Outside, winter was finally ending, but inside, Maya knew they had found something that would keep them warm no matter what season came next. 1 year later, Maya woke up on a Saturday morning to the smell of pancakes. She found David in the kitchen, humming while he cooked breakfast. He had gotten a permanent job with a construction company and was saving money to start his own business. Maya had been promoted at the clinic and was finally caught up on her mother's medical bills. What's all this? She asked, wrapping her arms around him from behind. It's our anniversary, David said, turning in her arms. 1 year since the night you saved my life. We both saved each other. Maya corrected him. Remember, David smiled. How could I forget? After breakfast, David told Maya he had a surprise for her. He led her up to the roof of their apartment building, where she found a small garden area he had been working on in secret. There were heating lamps to keep it warm during cold weather, comfortable chairs, and tiny lights strung up like stars. David, this is beautiful, Maya breathed. I wanted to create a place where we could come and remember how we started, he said. A place where we could be together under the sky, but still be warm. They sat down in the chairs, and David took Maya's hand. The city spread out below them, full of lights and life. Maya thought about all the people down there who might be struggling, who might be cold and alone like David had been that night. I've been thinking, David said, about that night when you found me. What about it? You could have kept walking. Most people would have. But you didn't. Maya squeezed his hand. I couldn't leave you there. That's what I love about you, David said. You choose kindness even when it's hard, even when it's scary. David stood up and pulled something out of his pocket. Maya's heart stopped when she realized it was a small box. Maya Rodriguez, he said, dropping down on one knee. You saved me from the cold that night. But more than that, you showed me what love looks like. You showed me that two people can take care of each other without keeping score. You showed me that home isn't a place, it's a person. Maya felt tears streaming down her face. I want to keep you warm for the rest of our lives, David continued. Through every storm, every hard day, every moment when the world feels cold and scary, we'll You marry me? The ring was simple and beautiful, and Maya realized David had made it himself from materials he had collected over the past year. It was unique and imperfect, and perfect all at the same time. Just like their love story. Yes, Maya said, laughing, and crying at the same time. Yes, yes, yes. David slipped the ring onto her finger and stood up to kiss her, round them. The heating lamps kept them warm even though it was a cold winter night, just like the warmth they had built together had protected them from all the cold, difficult things life had thrown their way. You know what the best part is? Maya rushed to her bathroom and grabbed every towel she could find. When she came back to the living room, David was still sitting exactly where she had left him, like he was afraid to move or touch anything. Here, she said, handing him the towels. You need to get out of those wet clothes before you get sick. There are some of my brother's old clothes in the closet in my bedroom. He's about your size. David looked uncomfortable. I can't take your brother's clothes. He doesn't live here anymore. Maya explained. He moved to California 2 years ago and left a bunch of stuff behind. Trust me, he won't mind. While David went to change, Maya hurried to her kitchen. She put the kettle on for tea and started looking through her cabinets for something to make for dinner. She didn't have much food in the house, but she found some canned soup and crackers. It wasn't fancy, but it would be warm. When David came back out, he looked completely different. The borrowed clothes fit him well, and now that he wasn't shivering, Maya could see that he was actually quite handsome. He had kind eyes and a gentle way of moving that made her feel like she had made the right decision. Thank you, he said quietly. I can't believe you're doing this for a complete stranger. Sit down, Maya said, gesturing to her small kitchen table. Tell me what happened to you. David hesitated for a moment, then sat down. I was working construction for a company downtown. Good job, good pay. I had an apartment, a car, everything was going fine. Then the company lost some big contracts and had to let people go. I was one of the newer guys, so I was first to get cut. Maya poured hot tea into 2 cups and set one in front of David. He wrapped his hands around it like it was the most precious thing in the world. I thought I'd find another job quickly. David continued. I'm good at what I do, but it's been harder than I expected. The money ran out faster than I thought it would. First I had to give up my apartment. Then I was living in my car. Then, 3 days ago, my car just died on me. I couldn't afford to fix it. What about your family? Maya asked gently. Friends? David looked embarrassed. My parents live in Seattle. We're not really close. I have a sister there too, but we haven't talked in years. There was some family drama when I moved here, and I was too proud to call. Then when things got bad, Maya served the soup and they ate in comfortable silence for a while. She could see that David was trying not to eat too quickly, but she could tell he was very hungry. What about you? David asked after a while. What do you do at the clinic? I'm a nurse, Maya said. I work with people who don't have insurance or can't afford to go to regular doctors. It's hard work, but I love it. That explains it, David said with a small smile. Explains what? Why you stopped to help me. Most people would have kept walking. Maya shrugged. I almost did. Keep walking. But I couldn't live with myself if something bad happened to you. They talked until late into the night. David told her about growing up in Seattle, about his dreams of starting his own construction business someday. Maya told him about her work, about her mother's illness, about how she sometimes felt like she was drowning in bills and responsibilities. You're taking care of everyone else, David observed. Who takes care of you? The question caught Maya off guard. She had been so busy trying to hold everything together that she hadn't really thought about it. I take care of myself, she said. But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't really true. When was the last time you did something just for fun? David asked. Maya had to think about it. She couldn't remember. Every spare moment was spent working extra shifts or visiting her mother, or trying to catch up on sleep. You need someone to take care of you too, David said softly. Maya felt tears starting to form in her eyes, but she blinked them back. She wasn't used to someone seeing how tired she really was. I should let you get some sleep, she said, standing up to clear the dishes. Maya, David said, and something in his voice made her turn around. I don't know how I'm ever going to repay you for this. You don't need to repay me, she said. Just get back on your feet. That's enough. She brought him blankets and a pillow for the couch. As she was getting ready for bed, she could hear him moving around quietly in the living room, trying not to make any noise. For the first time in months, Maya didn't feel completely alone in her apartment. There was something comforting about knowing someone else was there, someone who understood what it felt like when life gets overwhelming. The next morning, Maya woke up to the smell of coffee. For a moment, she couldn't remember why that was strange. Then she remembered David and smiled. She found him in the kitchen, carefully washing the dishes from the night before. He had folded the blankets neatly and put the pillow back where it belonged. I hope you don't mind, he said, pointing to the coffee maker. I found some coffee in your cabinet. Mind? This is the first time someone else has made me coffee in my own kitchen in years. They sat at the table drinking coffee and looking out the window. The storm had passed during the night, leaving everything covered in clean, white snow. It was beautiful, but Maya knew it would make getting around the city difficult. The buses probably aren't running yet, Maya said. You might be stuck here another day. Are you sure that's okay? David asked. I don't want to impose. It's okay, Maya said, and she realized she meant it. Having David there didn't feel like an imposition at all. It felt like having a friend. David spent the day helping around the apartment. He fixed her leaky kitchen faucet, something she had been meaning to do for months. He shoveled the steps outside her building without being asked. When Maya came home from work that evening, he had dinner waiting for her. You didn't have to do all this, she said, but she was smiling. I wanted to, David said. It's the least I can do. Over dinner, David told her he had been looking at job listings online using her computer. He had found a few possibilities and planned to start calling the next day. There's a temporary construction job starting next week, he said. It's only a few weeks of work, but it would give me enough money to get back on my feet. Maya felt a strange mix of happiness and sadness. She was glad David was going to be okay, but she had gotten used to having him round. The apartment felt warmer and more alive with him there. As they were cleaning up after dinner, David turned to her. Maya, what you did for me, bringing me here, it changed everything. I was ready to give up. I thought I was going to freeze to death in that doorway. Don't think about that, Maya said quickly. No, I need to say this. You saved my life, not just from the cold, but from losing hope completely. I had forgotten that there were still good people in the world. Maya felt her cheeks getting warm. She wasn't used to being thanked like this. You would have done the same thing, she said. I don't know if I would have, David admitted, but I know that from now on, I will. You showed me what real kindness looks like. That night, as Maya was falling asleep, she could hear David moving quietly around the living room again. But this time, instead of feeling like she had a stranger in her house, it felt like she had a friend who cared about her well-being. Maybe, she thought sleepily, they were both saving each other. The snow was coming down so hard that Maya could barely see the feet in front of her. She pulled her coat tight around her body and walked faster down the empty street. Her shift at the community health clinic had run late again, and now she was stuck walking home in what felt like the worst storm of the winter. Maya had been working extra hours for months now. Her mother needed expensive medicine, and the bills kept piling up. Every extra shift meant a few more dollars toward those medical costs. She was tired, cold, and all she wanted was to get home to her small apartment where she could make some hot tea and forget about this crazy day. The wind was howling through the buildings, making scary sounds that echoed off the empty streets. Most people had the good sense to stay inside tonight. The weather report had been warning everyone about this storm for days. Maya wished she could have stayed home too, but sick people don't take snow days. As she walked past the old bookstore on 5th Street, something caught her eye. At first, she thought it was just a pile of old clothes or garbage bags that had blown around in the wind, but then she saw it move. She stopped walking and squinted through the swirling snow. There was a person sitting against the brick wall of the closed bookstore. A man, probably around her age, wearing what looked like just a thin jacket, no hat, no gloves, no proper winter boots. He was shaking so hard that Maya could see it from across the street. Her first thought was to keep walking. This was a rough part of town, and her mother had always told her to be careful about strangers, especially at night. But something about the way he was sitting there, so still except for the shivering, made her heart hurt. Maya stood there for a moment, snow collecting on her shoulders, trying to decide what to do. She wasn't rich, and she wasn't strong. And she definitely wasn't the type of person who usually got involved in other people's problems. But she was a nurse, and she could tell even from this distance that this person was in real trouble. The temperature had dropped to dangerous levels tonight. She had heard on the radio that it was going to be one of the coldest nights of the year. Nobody could survive outside in weather like this, especially not dressed the way this man was dressed. Maya took a deep breath and crossed the street. Her boots crunched in the snow as she got closer. The man looked up when he heard her coming. His face was red from the cold, and his lips had a blue tint that made Maya's nurse training kick in immediately. This wasn't just someone who was a little cold. This was someone who was heading towards serious frostbite, maybe worse. "Excuse me," she said, raising her voice over the wind. "Are you okay?" The man tried to smile, but his teeth were chattering so hard he could barely speak. "I'm fine," he managed to say, which was obviously not true at all. Maya knelt down beside him, not caring that the snow was soaking through her pants. "No, you're not fine. How long have you been out here?" "Just a little while," he lied. Maya could tell he had been sitting in this spot for hours. His clothes were soaked through, and there was snow piled up on his shoulders and in his hair. "What's your name?" she asked. "David," he said through chattering teeth. "David Chen." "I'm Maya," she said. "David, you can't stay out here. This storm is getting worse, and it's dangerous." David tried to stand up, but his legs were so stiff from the cold that he almost fell over. Maya caught his arm and was shocked at how cold he felt, even through his jacket. "I don't have anywhere to go," he admitted, looking embarrassed. "My car broke down a few days ago, and I've been trying to figure things out." Maya didn't need to hear the whole story to understand what was happening. She had seen enough people in desperate situations through her work at the clinic. Sometimes life just falls apart all at once, and people end up in places they never thought they would be. "Listen," she said, making a decision that surprised even her. "I live about 6 blocks from here. You can come stay at my place tonight, just until the storm passes." David shook his head immediately. "No, I can't do that. I don't even know you. That's too much to ask." "You're not asking," Maya said firmly. "I'm offering. And honestly, if I leave you here tonight, I'm going to spend all night worrying about whether you're still alive in the morning." David looked at her like she had just offered him $1 million. His eyes filled with tears, though Maya wasn't sure if it was from emotion or just from the cold wind. "I'm not a bad person," he said quickly. "I mean, I know you don't know me, but I'm not dangerous or anything. Things got really bad really fast." "I believe you," Maya said, and she realized she really did. There was something about David that felt honest and kind, even in this terrible situation. "Come on, let's get out of this storm before we both turn into ice statues." She helped David stand up and was worried about how unsteady he was on his feet. The cold had affected him more than he was letting on. They started walking slowly down the street, David leaning on Maya's arm for support. The 6-block walk to Maya's apartment felt like it took forever. The snow was getting deeper, and the wind kept trying to knock them off balance. David apologized every few steps for slowing her down, but Maya just kept encouraging him to keep going. "Almost there," she kept saying. "Just a little bit further." When they finally reached Maya's building, she had never been so happy to see those familiar brick walls. Her apartment was on the 2nd floor, and she worried about whether David could make it up the stairs. But somehow, they managed to climb up together, one step at a time. Maya fumbled with her keys, her hands shaking. from cold and adrenaline. When she finally got the door open and they stepped inside, the warm air hit them like a wave. David actually gasped when he felt the heat. "Sit down right here," Maya said, pointing to her couch. "Don't move. I need to get you warmed up properly," as David collapsed onto her couch. Maya looked at this stranger she had just brought into her home and wondered what she had gotten herself into. But when she saw the grateful look in his eyes and the way he was finally starting to stop shivering, she knew she had made the right choice. Sometimes, she thought, being kind is more important than being careful.